VRFish has invited me back to my old stomping ground, Port Phillip Bay, to help highlight some of the good catch and release measures for snapper, as well as the problems of barotrauma. So it's snapper fishing time. While we're sitting here waiting for a bite, it's probably worth looking through the history of Port Phillip Bay. Now, I fished it since a kid, and in those old days, it was near impossible to get a snapper. You know, in the old days I was scallop dredging. It was a really hard fishery to actually end up with a snapper. Yet now, it's got so good that people catch snapper every day. Even today, we've only, caught a few fish. We're complaining about it. And I think this is the important thing, and this is why it's so important that we learn to look after these fish. We learn how to release them properly. If you get to your bag limit, just stop fishing. Go and fish for something else. Go and chase whiting, go and catch squid, or go home. And even on that same note, just as a personal point, you don't have to take your bag limit. Just take what you need at that time, because the fishery here is now world class. You think of it, there are hundreds and hundreds of boats out here today on a weekday. Where else in the world would you do that? And we're all catching fish. That's the beauty of Port Phillip Bay. But instead of making it sustainable, we have to enhance it. And by doing that, only take what you need, always stay well under the bag limit, and of course, let those fish go. And that way, this fishery will just get better and better. Now, it's probably even worth mentioning that the bag limit here in Victoria is 3 fish over 40 centimetres. And you think of it, the average fish is, say, 3 kilos. So that's 9 kilos of fish you can take home every day. So what's really important is we need to think about not just keeping the fish, but what you're doing with it, because you don't want to leave it so that it ends up at the bottom of the freezer. So eat it fresh, utilise it, otherwise let them go. Whoop, there's a bite. Here we go. Ooh, that's a better fish. All right, now one thing that's really important is to use circle hooks. With the circle hook's designed to hook the fish in the mouth, and even though it looks silly with it bent over like that, it'll bounce up through the gullet and catch on the corner. Look at that, perfectly in the corner of the mouth. That's the priority, that's what we really need to do. If you hook them in the mouth, there's minimal damage, and the chance of survival from all the research is dramatically higher than obviously gut hooking or hooking in the vitals around the gills or anything like that. You can still use J hooks. The key is though that you must do it quickly, that you hook up, don't let the fish run. So fish your reels and drag, as soon as you're on, hook up and you'll hook him in the mouth. That's the key, get them in the mouth and the chances of survival are a lot higher. There's a couple of ways you can let these fish go. First and foremost, it's about minimal pressure on it. So you don't want to bring it on board, drag it across the deck and let it bang around. You want to get them up, you want to do it all quickly of course. You want to unhook him and then get him back straight away. If you can unhook them in the water, do so. It can be a bit hard. You get a pair of pliers and you literally lift them over like that, shake it and drop them off. In the case of this fish here, he's actually, as you can see, he's only just hooked right in the mouth. Just in there. So what we can probably do with this one is you can actually do it here in the water. You just roll it over, just gently. Okay, so you minimise your handling on them. Get that line out of the way. And then just let him go like that. And you can see there what I've done is I've kept him in the water. He's only mouth hooked. Don't turf them back in if you can. Just let him do it nice and gently like that. And then he'll want to kick. Look at that, just powering straight down, going back where he's meant to be. If you do have to use a net and bring it on board, use one of those Enviro nets that have got the rubber as opposed to the netting, because you want to minimise scratches or anything to the skin. And with the old the coarser nets that we used to have, what it would do is actually rub the skin and damage them. So to minimise the impact. Of course, if you do lift them up at all, support the fish. It's an easy process. We've got to look after these fish. If you do catch a heap of them, they go mad. You sit there and suddenly all the rods are going off. You can keep a few. There's obviously nothing wrong with that. But if you're letting them go, you've got to do it right. And if you do get your bag limit, probably the best thing to do is either go inside 11 metres where we know it's not affecting them, or stop fishing. Either way, one snapper down.